Welcome to Explore Music, where we will discover and learn about traditional and cultural music of specific regions or countries of the world. Today, we're exploring the music and dance of traditional Denmark. Denmark is a Nordic country consisting of the peninsula called Jutland and around 406 islands, with the main regions being Funen and Zealand. Denmark's autonomous territories include Greenland and the Faroe Islands as well. Denmark's prehistory includes many hunter-gatherer cultures, as the land provided great resources for these people. The Nordic Bronze Age culture thrived from around 1700 BC until 500 BC when the Roman influence began throughout Europe. The Nordic Bronze Age culminated from regions of modern-day Denmark and northern Germany. This era is considered to be the origin of Germanic peoples. The ancient Danes began to explore and settle southern Scandinavia and are considered to be Vikings along with the Swedes and Norwegians. Many kings and petty chieftains existed in the regions of present-day Denmark, southern Sweden, and northern Germany. Harald Bluetooth is considered the first Danish king to successfully unite the islands of Funen and Zealand into one kingdom in the 10th century. The Viking Age in Denmark coincided with the Christianization of Norse cultures and changing monarchies of Norse and Anglo-Saxon rulers. Denmark's culture and language developed from Old Norse and spread to other parts of Scandinavia throughout the Viking Age. Due to proximity, Denmark was also heavily influenced by Germanic people and cultures, which in turn impacted their religion and music. By the High and Late Middle Ages, the Danish monarchy imposed choruses and instrumental ensembles to consist of Christian music from Dutch, German, Italian, and French musicians. This meant that Danish cultural music was mostly created by non-Denmark-born composers through most of the Middle Ages, until native composers rose up in the mid-Baroque and early classical periods. Since Danish music is closely related to German music, it is considered to be mainly Western tonal music. In the 1760s, Funen-born Rasmus Storm collected and hand-wrote melodies and dances of native Danish people, creating Rasmus Storm's Notebook. Inside are many traditional folk melodies and tunes, reminiscent of French, German, Polish, and Norse cultural influences. In the 17th and 18th centuries, music making in Denmark was mostly monopolized by the paid city musicians. This meant that the styles being performed in the cities from around Europe replaced the traditional styles that may have once been in place. Traditional music in Denmark mostly consists of variations of non-native instruments and styles. One early instrument that likely originated in Denmark was more of a war horn. The bronze lure was a Bronze Age horn used to warn of oncoming attacks, lead processions, and engage in religious rituals. They have decorated bell plates, and some have metal rattles hanging from the top. Similar to the lure was the birch trumpet or natural trumpet. Usually, these instruments were made from birch wood and had no finger holes. The instrument's pitch would only be changed by embouchure and could play around 10 notes of the natural scale. These were used in the Middle Ages and were mainly used to communicate or ward off predators from livestock herds. The hummel was a late Middle-Age stringed zither from northern Europe that has many resemblances to the Norwegian langleik. The name hummel may come from the German word meaning bumblebee because of the drone effect from the lower strings. Hummels have lower strings tuned in an open fifth, usually D and A, and melody strings that are usually all strummed together. The Central European musical influence brought the popularity of the fiddle to Denmark, and the city musicians frowned upon the use of any rural drums, bagpipes, or hurdy-gurdys. In later years, when the cities did not own music making, the popularity of the accordion, guitar, and other horns found their way into folk music. Dance in Denmark has largely been influenced from Central European styles. Some of the oldest known group dances are referred to as chain dances or circle dances, which have been found in most cultures around the world. In Central Europe, circle dance depictions have been found as early as the 10th century. In the 1500s, chain dances began to be replaced by pair dances. The oldest known pair dance in Denmark is known as the pols. The pols dance comes from the Polish court dance polska that also spread to the rest of the Nordic countries. The polska dance is a couple dance performed in a 3/4 time meter. Other dances to make their way into Denmark's rural life are the waltz, minuet, mazurka, contra, square dance, hopsa, gallop, and schottische. The Association for the Promotion of Folk Dancing, founded in 1901, focused on preserving earlier dance forms and making them identical throughout Denmark. For more on the history and styles of these dances, check the links in the description below. Denmark's compositions were mainly created by foreign composers until the Baroque period. The first recognized Danish-born composer was Mogens Pedersen. Pedersen was a musician for the Danish court in the late 1500s and early 1600s. He studied and stayed in Venice for a number of years and published his first book of madrigals in 1608. These Italian madrigals are polyphonic compositions for 5 voices in a counterpoint resemblance. After Pedersen was the renowned Dietrich Buxtehude, born in the late 1630s. Buxtehude was a prominent Baroque composer and organist, influencing many German and Danish composers, including Johann Sebastian Bach. Much of Buxtehude's music survives, mostly vocal and organ compositions, but also harpsichord and string chamber works as well. The classical music era in Denmark also produced many renowned composers. Friedrich Kuhlau was a Danish concert pianist and composed many works for piano, flute, string quartets, orchestra, and other horns. Kuhlau also wrote music for operas and the incidental music for the play Elves Hills by Dane Johann Ludvig Heiberg. Although Kuhlau spoke German and never fluently spoke Danish, his music was said to incorporate traditional Danish and Swedish folk tunes. He was also a big fan of Beethoven, introducing many of his works to Danish audiences. The 19th century in Denmark is known as the Danish Golden Age, considered a period of creative production including ballet, art, architecture, literature, science, and philosophy. Some important Danish composers of this era include Christoph Ernst Friedrich Weiss, Hans Christian Lumby, Johann Peter Emilius Hartmann, and Hartmann's son-in-law, Niels Wilhelm Gade. August Bernenville was a Danish ballet master and choreographer who was very influential in the Danish Golden Age. Considered one of Denmark's finest composers was Carl Nielsen, a prominent violinist and inspirational conductor. Nielsen wrote 6 symphonies, a wind quintet, and concertos for violin, flute, and clarinet. Nielsen's popularity was increased by prominent 20th century conductors, including American Leonard Bernstein, and was validated in 2006 when 3 of his compositions were placed in the list of the 12 greatest Danish pieces by the Danish Ministry of Culture. Emil Riesen was another Danish conductor, pianist, and composer, but mainly of ballets, operas, and film scores in the mid-20th century. Denmark's music throughout the last century has involved many styles. In the 1930s, Danish jazz groups began forming out of love for the American style. In the next decades, Denmark produced many rock and pop bands, making international fame with musicians like Lars Ulrich, the drummer for Metallica, and Medina. Denmark is also home to one of the largest music festivals in Europe, the Roskilde Festival, which has featured mainly rock and alternative bands since 1971. Folk revival and electronic dance music also remain popular music genres in Denmark today. Thanks for watching Explore Music Denmark. For more information about Denmark's traditional music, be sure to check out the links in the description of additional resources and footage. If you liked this video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to Explore Music. You can also check out our website at exploremusiconline.weebly.com to contact and support us. We now have a running podcast on Anchor, Spotify, or wherever you choose to listen to podcasts.